Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, RingsideNews.com. The WWE Night of Champions mega event is this Sunday, live on the WWE Network, which you can watch for just $9.99. I know you all love when I say that. Got your questions here, got a lot of questions, so I will be doing another extended edition of NoDQ&A video today. If you enjoyed today's video, please tell a friend, anybody you know who watches wrestling, have them check out NoDQ&A video, and stay tuned to NoDQ.com for Night of Champions coverage. Now that that's all out of the way, let's get down to your questions. First one from WWE Fan 5. Hey Aaron, what did you think of Raw? Like most people, I felt that Raw was a lackluster show this week. I felt that the build-up towards Night of Champions was weak. I do not understand the whole booking of Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, why WWE would give that match away for free on television, and I guess they're having a rematch at Night of Champions, so you can pay $9.99 to watch a rematch after seeing a match for free with a clean finish, and at the pay-per-view there will probably be outside interference. Backwards logic, don't understand it, mind-boggling. I know some people were confused about the Rusev and Mark Henry segment ending Raw, but there was a logical reason behind it. They wanted to counteract football, so they decided to put the John Cena Brock Lesnar segment in the middle of the show. And looking at the ratings, I mean, that is what you come to expect when WWE is up against the NFL, where you're going to see the ratings drop in the third hour. It's been a regular pattern in WWE, and the middle part of the show actually has the most viewership normally. I mean, it's really become the norm in WWE for that pattern to play out. So WWE decided to put that segment in the middle, and that was a good segment. That was the best segment on Raw, in my opinion, the John Cena Brock Lesnar confrontation. Everything else on Raw, very forgettable. Crowd wasn't into much of anything. Just a very forgettable edition of Raw. All right, this one comes from Kayfabe Candy Ass. Is it next big thing or bust for Roman Reigns? I don't look at him and see the next Rock or Stone Cold, but I see the next main event potential guy. But it seems there's no talk about him just being a future main eventer. It's all about him being the next Cena. Well, when people say him as the next Cena, they're talking about him being the next top guy to carry the company, not necessarily being another John Cena clone where he's going out there and being the over-the-top baby face that never gives up and does all the charity work. Although WWE does want that from him. They want him to be able to eventually replace John Cena. Once John Cena is gone, Roman Reigns can be the guy that does all the Make-A-Wish appearances and does all the stuff with the troops. They want him in that role. They want somebody in that role. Will he be as big as Rock and Stone Cold? Those are some very big shoes to fill. Roman Reigns is not the type of character that Stone Cold was, or The Rock for that matter. If anything, he's closer to a Batista type of character. Will he be a main eventer in WWE? I think the odds are good, so I don't see him going bust. But bad booking could play a role in his future in WWE, and that leads me to the next question here from Sam It-Ahan 7. Hey Aaron, do you think Roman Reigns would be more over if he joined the Authority instead of Rollins, and leading up to the Rumble he turns face and then faces Lesnar at WrestleMania 30? Well, I know you're perhaps comparing that to when The Rock was a babyface back in 1998, and then he turned heel and joined the corporation and then went back to being a babyface. That would be a similar type of storyline. The problem is, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, Roman Reigns is not The Rock. The Rock is one of the few people that could have made that work. I mean, with that storyline between The Rock and Stone Cold, you had Stone Cold as a top babyface, and you were building up to WrestleMania, and you wanted to have the top babyface against the top heel in the main event. I mean, that was the logical match to do. So, turning Rock heel to face Austin wasn't the worst idea in the world. And like I said, The Rock was one of the few guys that could pull it off, just flip-flopping between babyface and heel. Most of the time, when guys go back and forth, it doesn't work. You look at somebody like Big Show, or Kane for that matter, it actually did more damage to their character with the frequent turns. Roman Reigns was a heel with the Shield for a long period of time, and then he just turned babyface a few months ago. So to me, it would be way too soon to turn him heel, and I think if anything, turning him heel and then turning him back face would damage his character. I think it's unnecessary to turn him heel. And it's a different era in WWE. I mean, back during the Attitude Era, you could turn guys all the time, and the product was so hot that it didn't matter. But now, if you did that, I think it would damage his character. So I personally would not do that. All right, this one comes from WWE fan Dark Arrow. Hey Aaron, growing up, did you prefer WCW or WWF? I think for the most part, I preferred WWF. That was what I watched the most when I was a kid. But around the time that Hulk Hogan came into WCW, I started really getting into WCW more, and Randy Savage, all those former WWF guys going to WCW. All of a sudden, I was starting to get more interested in WCW. And certainly, by the time the NWO formed, I think that I could honestly say that was the one period, late 96, mid to late 96, where I really preferred strongly WCW over WWF. But once the Steve Austin character got hot and that feud with him and Bret Hart started up towards the end of 96, I started getting interested in WWF again. And from that point on, I think I preferred WWF just because it felt to me like they were really trying their best to put out a top-notch show, and WCW was just relying on the big stars and just signing every WWF star that they can get, and just using Ted Turner's money to try and stay on top, where WWF was trying to earn every single viewer possible. So I definitely had more respect for WWF as an organization, but I also liked to root. I like to root for the underdog, and I was cheering on WWF because they were losing the war. And then when WCW was going downhill, I didn't want to see WCW go under. So, I was starting to root for them again and hoping that they could make a comeback, which unfortunately was not meant to be. But, that for the most part, I would say I prefer WWF. All right, this one comes from Rosebud Peep. What do you think about the idea of WWE doing 4 Clash for Champions a year, and on 2, the IC champ gets into an auto title shot, and on the other 2, the US title contender gets one? It would make both titles important. Well, first of all, I would not do any more programming. No more WWE television program. Enough is enough. You have Raw, you have SmackDown, you have Main Event, you have all the stuff on the WWE Network. The last thing WWE needs at this point is more television. So I do not see that happening. I don't think WWE has interest in doing that, and I don't know if there's any network out there that wants more wrestling programming. It's already oversaturated enough as it is. So that's a bad idea. But as far as having the IC champion or the US champion getting title shots, I'm all for that. I'm all for elevating those titles and making them more important, and going back to that old school idea where the US champion or the IC champion is the top contender to the world title. So, I wouldn't mind them going back in that direction. All right, this one comes from Creature13. Now the Ascension have lost the WWE or the NXT tag team titles. Could it be a possibility WWE are bringing them up to the main roster? Absolutely. I really feel that WWE has gone back downhill with the tag team division. About a year ago, they were doing really well, and now you have the Usos, you have Stardust and Goldust, and that's about it. There's not a whole lot of action going on in the tag team division right now. So with the Ascension, I definitely feel that there's some value in bringing them up and getting the tag team division off and running again. So it's just a matter of time, and I think a lot of it depends on I'm sure the Ascension are going to get a rematch for the NXT tag team titles, so maybe they'll stay in NXT for a few more months, and maybe the Rhodes brothers will win the tag titles and then lose them to the Usos, and then towards the end of the year, you can start up a feud between the Usos and the Ascension. So I think that that's a safe prediction. And yeah, definitely bring them up soon and get the tag team division going again. All right, this one comes from Alexander WWE. Hey Aaron, what do you think? When do you think Randy Orton will turn face, and how would you book it? I would love him turning on Triple H and wrestling him at WrestleMania. Please answer in video. Thanks. Well, I don't know about Triple H versus Randy Orton again. I think I've seen enough of that feud. But as far as turning Randy Orton face, I think that you should do that if you're going to have Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. If you're going to have Brock Lesnar in another pay-per-view / mega event match between now and WrestleMania, that seems like a very logical match to do. Randy Orton, the next big star in line to challenge Brock Lesnar, and since Brock Lesnar is a heel, obviously Randy Orton would go babyface. So, I would definitely do that. I would definitely turn Randy Orton face and have him feud with Brock Lesnar later this year, going into 2015. And I don't know how long Randy Orton would be a face. I know he personally prefers being a heel, but at least with Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar, that's a big marquee match, and I think Orton would work well as a babyface against Lesnar. All right, this one comes from Super Rookie. Hey Aaron, do you think it is likely that we will see a Nexus reunion at some point in the future? While I can see the appeal of keeping Barrett, I cannot think of any other reason as to why WWE would keep the rest of the former members on the roster. Thanks. Two reasons why I think it's unlikely that we'll see a Nexus reunion. First of all, I don't think that the faction was big enough in WWE history to the point where it would be worth investing in a Nexus reunion. And second, when you look at the faction of Nexus, they were a group of young, up-and-coming guys from Season 1 of NXT, the NXT alumni, trying to bond together and make a name for themselves in WWE. Now they're all veterans. They've all been around for several years, and to me, it just wouldn't feel right. It would be awkward to have a Nexus reunion, and I don't really know what the reasoning would be to have them reunite. So, don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think that it would really do the former members of Nexus any good to reunite. I don't think it's necessary. All right, next question here. We've always seen the Undertaker in character. Do you think when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, he should still be in character, and who should induct him? I think Undertaker would be much better off going into the Hall of Fame as Mark Calaway when he does his induction speech. I think he can come out with the music, but as far as him dressing up and dyeing the goatee, I don't think he should do that. I think he should come out there and be himself, Mark Calaway, and tell his story. I think that that's what people want to hear. They want to hear from the man himself and his real feelings about his wrestling career. I think doing the whole gimmick would be too over the top and too hokey. I would like to see Undertaker show up as Mark Calaway and just be himself. That's something that people wanted to see for years. They want to see him come out and just break character and just talk about his career. And as far as who should induct him, I think that you could go with somebody like Vince McMahon or even somebody who feuded with Undertaker. I mean, Shawn Michaels would be an excellent choice. Steve Austin, The Rock, somebody top star from the Attitude Era that worked with Undertaker, I think would be one of your best picks. This one comes from The Wrestler Man. Hey Aaron, please answer in video. What are your thoughts on the two Hardy Boys and Dudley Boys versus Wolves matches on Impact? I thought that they were really good matches. One thing I will say about TNA is, their future is very much up in the air right now, but, they have been producing some solid television, and even though the shows have been taped way in advance, they've still been delivering some quality wrestling matches, so I will give TNA credit for that. And, the Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, Wolves, those matches have been, really good. So, hats off to TNA for going back to the basics here. And sometimes when you don't try too hard and you just focus on basic storytelling, that's when you produce your best product. Next question here. Would it be a good idea to have Vince Russo be involved with Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling? Keep up the good work. I do not think that that's a good idea. I think that Vince Russo should not be involved with an upstart wrestling promotion. I think that you need somebody new. You need some fresh ideas, somebody who has a different vision of where to go with wrestling. That is really what Jeff Jarrett and GFW need. You need something that's out of the box that we haven't seen before, hopefully. I mean, that would be ideal, to have somebody come in with some fresh creative ideas. I don't want to be seeing GFW with pole matches and everybody involved in some kind of faction and constant run-ins and women all over the show constantly, and cat fights and all that stuff. We need some different angles and different characters and just somebody in charge who has some new ideas. So I would not involve Vince Russo in GFW. I think that would be a huge mistake. All right, final question here from GoHam619. Hey Aaron, third time asker. What do you think of Kenta changing his name to Hideo Itami at NXT TakeOver? I think it should not have happened because a lot of people remember him as Kenta. Your thoughts on this? Well, most of your casual WWE audience does not recognize the name Kenta. So when you look at it from that perspective, it doesn't really matter. Sure, a lot of diehard wrestling fans who follow wrestling in Japan, they're familiar with the name, but to them, they already know who he is. So it doesn't really matter. WWE is essentially developing a new character in the United States that most of their audience isn't familiar with. So it doesn't matter what his name is. They're obviously changing the name so they can have the legal rights to it, which is fine. It's just your very standard Japanese name. I really don't have a problem with it. And like I said, it's not like Kenta is this huge brand name in the United States that your casual fan recognizes. So it doesn't really matter. All right, that'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. NoDQ.com, your source for WWE Night of Champions, breaking news, rumors, and of course, live results coverage. And I will be tweeting NoDQ.com and on Twitter, twitter.com/NoDQ, DOTCOM. So stay tuned for that. And I will see you guys next time for another edition of NoDQ&A video.